I quit sugar for 30 days. The results surprised me. All right, let's rewind. How did I get myself into this mess? Most bad decisions, it started with video. One minute I'm watching funny cat videos, and the next I'm in a rabbit hole of fitness influencers telling me sugar is the devil. There was this one dude, ripped, glowing skin, annoying level of energy, who swore that quitting sugar changed his life. Said he felt amazing, lost weight without even trying, and got mental clarity, whatever that means. I sat there, mid-bite into my second chocolate chip cookie, and thought, maybe I should try that. Big mistake. I did zero research before diving in. Just woke up the next morning, dramatically threw out all my cookies, cereal, and anything that looked remotely fun, and declared myself sugar-free. I felt powerful, invincible, like one of those people who meal preps quinoa bowls and actually drinks enough water. That feeling lasted about 4 hours. Day 1, the ignorance phase. I was feeling good, had eggs for breakfast, some grilled chicken for lunch, and a very sad salad for dinner. I even looked at myself in the mirror like, damn, is my skin glowing already? Spoiler, it was not. But then nighttime hit. My usual routine involved plopping onto the couch with some ice cream or cookies. And now I had water. You know how soul-crushing it is to sit there, watching TV, drinking water, while your body screams for chocolate. I went to bed angry. Day 3, the withdrawal hits. Listen, I thought sugar withdrawal was a myth, something fitness bros exaggerated to flex their discipline. Nope, it's real, and it sucks. By the 3rd day, I had a headache from hell. I was cranky, irritable, and ready to fight anyone who so much as mentioned dessert. At one point, I caught myself smelling a Snickers bar like a damn lunatic. My coworker offered me a donut, and I swear, for a split second, I considered quitting my job just to avoid the temptation. Day 5, the betrayal. I was in full detective mode, checking every label like I worked for the FDA. That's when I discovered the ultimate betrayal. Sugar is in everything. Bread, sugar, ketchup. Sugar, my so-called healthy yogurt. More sugar than a candy bar. I felt lied to. My whole life was a scam. At this point, I was questioning if I had made a terrible mistake, but my stubbornness wouldn't let me quit. If that annoying YouTube dude could do it, so could I, right? Spoiler, it only got worse before it got better. Day 7, the rage phase. By the 1-week mark, I had developed a deep, personal hatred for anyone who could eat sugar without consequences. Watching a coworker casually eat a brownie felt like witnessing a crime. I wanted to call the authorities. The worst part, I wasn't even craving sweets anymore. I was just mad. Mad that I had spent my whole life unknowingly hooked on this stuff. Mad that my healthy granola bars were basically just disguised candy. Mad that every commercial on TV seemed to be personally mocking me with slow-motion shots of dripping chocolate. At this point, I had 2 choices. Give up and accept that sugar had won. Keep going and see if I could make it through, without committing a sugar-related felony. I chose option 2, barely. Day 10, the hallucinations begin. Okay, maybe hallucinations is dramatic, but I swear I started seeing sugar everywhere. That patch of light on my desk looked like a cookie, a random ad on my phone, cupcakes. I even had a dream where I broke into a bakery and just sniffed everything. Was I okay? No. Did I push through? Yes. I was running on pure spite. Spite for the food industry. Spite for my past self. Spite for that one guy in the office who always had a bowl of M and MS on his desk like some kind of sugar-peddling villain. Day 14, the breakthrough. And then something weird happened. I woke up feeling good. No headache, no cravings, no desire to punch a cupcake in its stupid little face. I had energy, real energy. Not the fake, caffeine and sugar-fueled kind I was used to, but steady all-day energy. My mood was better. My skin looked clearer. I even caught myself smiling at a stranger, which is extremely out of character for me. Was this the mental clarity that YouTube dude was talking about? At this point, I realized I might actually make it to 30 days. Spoiler, it still wasn't smooth sailing, but things were definitely getting interesting. Day 17, the darkest hour. 2 weeks into this sugar-free experiment, I started to feel like I was living in some twisted version of my own life. Everyone around me seemed to be happily munching on their sugary snacks, while I was just miserable. It wasn't just about cravings anymore. It was a constant mental battle. And every time I felt the urge to quit, I had to remind myself why I started this whole thing. But the truth was, the deeper I went into this sugar-free zone, the more isolated I started to feel. I was at work, trying to push through the afternoon slump. My energy was at an all-time low, and I hadn't felt the need for a nap this badly since, ever. Normally, I'd grab a snack, maybe some chocolate or cookies, and that would give me the boost I needed to power through. But now there was nothing, just me and my willpower. I was sitting in the break room, watching the clock tick by when I saw it. One of my coworkers, let's call him Jim, walked in with a huge box of donuts. He was eating the first one, and the rest were just sitting there, taunting me with their sugary glory. The smell hit me first. It was like a wave crashing over me, fresh, sweet, warm, inviting. I swear, for a second, I could feel my body physically aching for that donut. My mouth watered, my palms sweat, and I was fighting an internal war. But I resisted. I sat there, gripping my water bottle like it was a lifeline. Jim didn't even notice my struggle. He casually went about his business, blissfully unaware of the mental chaos I was enduring. I didn't take a donut, but I went home that night, exhausted, and collapsed on my couch. The cravings were getting worse, and I was starting to doubt if I could make it to 30 days. I was pushing through, but barely. Day 19, the emotional breakdown. I was starting to realize this wasn't just about food. It was about my emotions, too. The cravings weren't just physical, they were deeply emotional. After 2 weeks of strict sugar deprivation, I was emotionally spent. I felt like a roller coaster of moods, sometimes fine, other times ready to lose it over the smallest thing. And then came Thursday night. I had been invited to a friend's birthday party. The moment I walked in, I was greeted by the usual spread: cake, ice cream, and candy scattered across the table. At first, I thought I could handle it. I told myself I wasn't going to cave. I was strong. I was beyond temptation. But as the evening wore on, I felt that familiar, sinking feeling in my stomach. It wasn't just a craving, it was like an emotional void. I was surrounded by people, yet I felt so isolated. Why was everyone else allowed to enjoy themselves, while I sat there, alone with my water and healthy snacks? At one point, I excused myself and ran to the bathroom to cry. I had never felt so ridiculous. I mean, it was just cake. But it wasn't just about the cake, it was about everything. The feeling of being deprived, the mental struggle, the loneliness of it all. I barely made it through the rest of the party. When I left, I was emotionally drained, like I'd just fought a battle I wasn't sure I could win. As soon as I got home, I collapsed on my couch, holding back tears. But deep down, I knew I couldn't quit. I couldn't go back. I had to push through this. Day 21, the moment of weakness. Day 21 came, and I was on edge. Every part of me wanted to give up. I had just finished a tough day of errands and work, and I was exhausted. As I walked into the grocery store, I felt it, the pull, the temptation of that candy aisle. There it was, right in front of me, a display of my absolute favorite candy bars, the kind I hadn't had in weeks. I couldn't stop myself. My legs moved toward it almost on their own. I reached for the candy, my hand trembling. I was seconds away from grabbing the candy bar and just saying, screw it. But then, I paused. I stopped. My hand hovered in midair, and for the first time in 3 weeks, I took a deep breath. I realized that this moment was going to define the whole challenge. If I gave in now, I was throwing away everything I had worked for. If I grabbed that candy, I would be letting the sugar win. I put the candy back. I left the store empty-handed, but I didn't feel victorious. I felt like a soldier barely surviving in the trenches. I went home, feeling like I had just won a war, but the exhaustion was taking its toll. I needed to recharge physically and mentally. Day 23, the resurgence. Something clicked after that. Maybe it was the sheer mental willpower I had just tapped into, or maybe my body was starting to adjust, but day 23 was different. I woke up feeling good. Not just physically, but emotionally too. I could feel the change in my mood. The fog had started to lift. The cravings were still there, but they didn't feel as urgent. For the first time, I felt like I could actually finish this thing. I wasn't just surviving, I was actually thriving. I started waking up with more energy. I didn't feel the need to crash after every meal. My skin was clearing up. The mental clarity they always talked about, it was real. By day 23, I knew I was in the final stretch. I was fighting for something bigger now, not just a sugar-free life, but the knowledge that I could push through anything. Day 25, the test. And then the real test came. My friend invited me over for a movie night, and as soon as I walked in, there it was, the temptation. Chips, cookies, ice cream, and even a fresh batch of brownies. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I had learned that I didn't need to say yes to everything. I didn't have to give in just because I was in the same room with sugar. I grabbed a bottle of water and some carrot sticks, sat down with my friends, and didn't even think twice. I had control. Day 25, the final test. I had almost made it, the home stretch, but that didn't mean the temptations were gone, far from it. In fact, on day 25, I hit one of the most challenging moments yet. I was at a friend's barbecue. Picture this, burgers sizzling on the grill, people laughing, the air thick with the smell of grilled meat, but oh, right, there was a dessert table. A giant dessert table, brownies, cupcakes, cheesecake, you name it. Now let me remind you, I had been sugar-free for 25 days. I should have been immune to the sweet siren call of those desserts, right? But I wasn't. I stood there holding a plate of grilled veggies like a total fraud, staring at those desserts. My brain was like, you've come this far, you deserve a reward. My heart was like, no, don't do it. You've worked too hard. My willpower was in a battle with itself, and for a moment I was seriously considering throwing in the towel. Maybe just one cupcake. That couldn't hurt, right? I could get back on track tomorrow. But before I could take another step toward the dessert table, my friend Tom, the one who had been so supportive of my sugar-free challenge, came up to me. You good? He asked, noticing my inner struggle. I nodded, clutching my plate tightly. Hey, he said with a smile, you've come this far, don't let a cupcake destroy everything. That hit me like a gut punch of clarity. He was right. I had already faced the worst of it. I had been through hell and back, and the finish line was just a few days away. So I stayed away from the dessert table. But the real victory came when I realized I didn't feel deprived anymore. It wasn't about the sweets or the sugar anymore. It was about strength. It was about knowing that I had the power to say no, and that was far more satisfying than any cupcake could ever be. Day 28, the shift. Something had shifted in me. I wasn't craving sugar anymore, not in the same way. Sure, I'd still get the occasional urge to have a snack, but it wasn't this all-consuming need. My body had adjusted. The fog had cleared. I had rediscovered a sense of control that I didn't know I had lost. I wasn't just surviving this challenge. I was thriving. My energy was up. My focus was sharper. I felt more alive than I had in a long time. And the best part? I didn't feel like I was on some kind of diet. This wasn't a punishment. It was a lifestyle. I started to feel the physical benefits too. I'd lost a few pounds, but that wasn't even the highlight. The highlight was how good I felt. No more sugar crashes, no more bloating. My skin was clearing up and I didn't feel like a prisoner to my cravings anymore. I realized that sugar had been more than just a food for me. It had been a coping mechanism. I had used it to manage stress, boredom, and every emotional low I'd ever had. But now, I felt like I had a new tool set. I didn't need sugar to feel good anymore. Day 30, the final victory. The moment arrived. 30 days, I had officially made it. I had done the impossible. I had survived, thrived, without sugar for an entire month. I looked in the mirror and I couldn't help but smile. I had done this for me, and I felt proud. I had started this journey to test my willpower, to see if I could actually do it. But what I had gained was so much more than just a sense of accomplishment. I had learned that I could reclaim control over my habits, my body, and my cravings. And here's the crazy part. I didn't even feel like I needed to go back to sugar. Sure, I could indulge occasionally, but I wasn't itching for it the way I once was. I wasn't a slave to it anymore. I had learned the difference between enjoying something occasionally and needing it to feel good. I had realized that a life without sugar wasn't just possible, it was actually liberating. And that, my friends, is the real victory. The 30-day challenge wasn't about losing weight or getting perfect skin. It was about freedom. Freedom from the constant cravings, freedom from the guilt, and freedom from a cycle I didn't even know I was trapped in. The aftermath. So what happened after the 30 days? Well, I didn't turn into some glowing, sugar-free guru with a six-pack and endless energy, though I was hoping for a little bit of that. I did, however, feel like a new person. The benefits of cutting out sugar lasted long after the 30 days. I still don't eat nearly as much sugar as I used to, and when I do, it's a much more conscious decision. I don't feel the need to binge or overindulge. I feel in control. And that's worth more than any candy bar. What I learned: quitting sugar for 30 days was one of the hardest things I've ever done. There were moments when I wanted to quit, when I doubted myself, and when I thought it would never end. But now, looking back, I can honestly say it was worth it. I don't think I'll ever be fully sugar-free. There are just some things that are too delicious to pass up. Hello, birthday cake. But I know I'm not dependent on it anymore. It's not my crutch, my comfort, or my go-to. I'm in control, and that feels amazing. And for anyone out there thinking about taking on the challenge, do it. It's not easy, but the results, the mental clarity, the freedom, the control, are worth every second.